So I have information, a little bit of information, not much, but yeah, the social worker is not talking to me because anything that he says to me is highly likely going to end up on a YouTube video. And because of that, I think his boss has told him not to communicate with me, or maybe his boss has said this. Whatever, I don't care. I love making YouTube videos, and if it's a choice between talking to the social workers or having the right to say whatever I want on YouTube videos, I would far rather go for that. My religion does play a big part to this. The reason why, I believe that I'm Christ, and even if the world doesn't believe or doesn't care right now, at the end of the day, these videos are always going to be here, and they're always going to be like a reference as to what I've done in my life and kind of just problems that I faced and stuff. Hence the importance of these videos. These videos are far more important than me communicating with the social workers. Technically, the social workers don't really know anything. Like, technically, you can only know someone once, someone has gone through some sort of program or test, and they can't possibly know, they don't know the future about how well Sophie will do. And so, therefore, even if I was talking with them, they wouldn't actually be able to give me any information anyway. The only information that they've given me so far is this stupid report test that I've done, which is completely inaccurate, makes claims that they can't possibly know. To meet someone for an hour and to be able to think you have the right to assess whether or not that person is capable of looking after a child or working out their needs, to base your opinion on someone's ability to look after a child based on, well, absolutely nothing. I can look after myself. I have a nice home. I eat well. I can, there'll be no reason for her to make the accusations that she said. And even to say things like, I don't understand the needs of the social workers. I don't think she knew what the needs of the social workers were. So I feel like everything on that report that she's made is just her not liking me, probably thinking that I'm a prostitute or something like this, thinking that my massage job is probably more than just massage, maybe being jealous about how I look, the fact that I'm pretty. If I'm doing massage and I'm pretty, then of course maybe I'm a prostitute. I know some people are going to have that view. In fact, a lot of my clients have that view. They see a picture of someone pretty. Oh, she does massage. Oh, she's obviously doing extras and stuff like this. So, I know that this is something that I face every single day. And yeah, what I do is my choice. But at the end of the day, I'm asexual, and that is generally how I feel. But I know also there's a lot of people that don't even believe that or have no clue what asexual means. But yes, whatever. I am 100% going to expose this report like when I'm famous, but right now I'm not famous, so there's no point to revealing it because no one's going to give a shit. Plus, they might actually think, oh, well, she obviously knows what she's talking about. This report is obviously right, and therefore, I can't prove that it's wrong unless people actually know who I am. So the point that I want to expose it, but yeah, there's any point of exposing it if people care, if people know that I am actually capable of looking after a kid and I am actually smart, intelligent, and everything written on that report is just based on absolutely nothing. And but yeah, that is pretty much the only information that they've ever given me. But because I've made threats about me exposing it, it's not threats, it's the truth. And that report is not the truth, and it makes social workers look bad because I believe that I'm Christ, e.g. God in human form. And although I don't have the same knowledge that my higher self would know, because I only have the knowledge of whatever I've gone through in my life, I know that foster caring is such a big thing. God cannot make rules as in like laws and stuff. People have laws and stuff, and the world is governed by man, and that's how it should be. It shouldn't be governed by God, because God can't actually talk to people, even though people like to make out that they can talk to God, but that's not the truth. Hence why man have to make laws. But yeah, when it comes to foster caring, I feel like there's some things that God wants to tell people, which is that sometimes foster care people are not choosing the right people. I feel like there is some sort of thing where they can pick and choose the people that they like. Oh, they're in a couple, a family, a lack of emotion as well. I feel like if someone has a lack of emotion and is willing to look up to authority, respect the authority, I feel like the social workers involved might go for those types of people. Oh, they're willing to listen to me, they're willing to follow my advice, they're willing to do everything, by the books, they're married, been married for 30 years, got an expensive house, I feel like these things are reasons why someone would like a foster parent. But in the reality is actually when it comes to looking after a child, you just, I don't think they have the ability to work out who's good and who's bad. And I feel like this claim, this report that they've made against me actually backs up my theory that they don't know who's good, who's right for looking after a child. So yeah. But yes, of course, they're not going to be happy about my thoughts or my opinions because it goes against a lot of them. So yeah, they haven't revealed any information, but they're not going to be happy with talking to me. Why? Because I am going to be like a reporter and report everything that I think they're doing wrong. So I can understand why they wouldn't want to talk to me. So I'm not bothered about that. But yeah. It is a bit annoying though, because if Sophie does lose custody, I need to know how I can go through the courts to try and get custody. And I think it's annoying the fact that someone like me, who's very capable of looking after a child, who would be amazing at being a mother, can't rely on the social services to help her because of her, you know, reluctancy to actually want to work with people, but rather just want to raise up a child. I mean, foster caring is a very expensive thing, and if the taxpayers' money is going to help, if it's the taxpayer who has to pay for £200-300 a week every week for foster parents, plus pay for staffing to try and manage these programs, it's a lot of taxpayers money that shouldn't be spent when there's better things to spend it on. And yeah, to think that they would rule out people just because they aren't going to sort of look up to the social services, I respect that a lot of them are doing what's right for kids, but I also know that they make mistakes. And I don't know, to think that someone should be ruled out because they make YouTube videos or something like this is, I think that's really silly. But yes, those are, and also for single parent, I know that a lot of social workers will probably think that two parents is better than one, and okay, it usually is the case, but not always the case. My parents don't get on at all in any kind of way, but yes, they've been married for 30 years, so on paper it looks good. But the reality is that they can't even communicate or have a decent conversation ever. And I've never seen them kiss or have any kind of affection. So it's just like, but yeah, affection and things like this that wouldn't come under things that they would consider as a good or bad parent. Whereas I would say a person's affection towards a child, that should count for everything. But yeah, if they're willing to make assessments on people without even seeing them next to a child or with a child, I feel like it means that they're not looking at the caring side of things. They're looking at the do they respond to us kind of way, and I don't think that's right. But whatever. I have said loads of bad things about the social services, but I admit that I say a lot of bad things about a lot of things. I say bad things about my sister. I say bad things about my sister's husband, my sister's ex-husband. I say bad things about my mum, and technically it's all just my opinions, and I should have the rights to say what I want and to be freedom of speech. I know some things should be kept secret because you don't want to cause problems, and e.g. I did keep the whole thing about Donnie thinking he was the father. I kept that secret for a very long time because I didn't want to cause issues with the family, but it turned out that he had done it anyway, and therefore me keeping quiet might have actually just turned them against me, because it's like, well, she knows something that she's not revealing, and then that probably might have made me, I don't think they know anything about me. Maybe they don't know anything about me. I really don't know. But yes, whatever. It'd be kind of better if they haven't seen the videos that I'm making, though, to be honest. So, but yes, it's a little complicated, but it's weird how there are some people that think that they have a right to sue someone over a YouTube video that they're making. That's what, George has threatened Sophie, saying that if you tell Anna any information, because you've been telling Anna information, I therefore have a right to sue you over things. And it's just like, that's bullshit, because Sophie hasn't been telling me anything. I'm making my assumptions based on what I'm seeing, and how I what I'm seeing is George is a nasty asshole. He's a kind of a monster, a bit heartless, no ability to do what's right, I don't think, because my mum is a bit batty, yes, but she's going far battier the fact that he is banning her from having any contact or anything. And I think it's very, very heartless how he doesn't want the mother of his child to have any contact, anything to do with his child. Now, okay, Sophie is probably not the best with children. She's not very good with children. I couldn't have made this assumption because I hadn't seen her with a child until a few weeks ago. But yes, now that I have seen it, I feel like there's truth to it. Unfortunately, she's not going to like me for saying that, but if she can't see risks, when a child is very young, that there are quite a lot of risks, and if you can't see it, then that's a problem. If, however, the child is like 7, 8, 9 and can start seeing risks for himself, then I think things are a lot safer, things are a lot better. And, the day that the child gets taken off George would be a really glorious day for me, because I hate him. I hate him. I think he's a heartless monster. And I think he is very controlling and possessive. He did this to my sister for 10 years, and he's going to do this to the child. Where at the end of the day, though, a child needs protection. A child needs some sort of control, and yeah, I feel like all the things that I hate about George are actually not that bad. Like that, there's no reason that you need to be controlling over a child, otherwise they might run out into the street. So that's the truth of it. I can hate him for loads of reasons, but when it comes to a young child, he's probably quite good, or at least he's better than Sophie, because I can see Sophie thinking, oh, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, and maybe something bad will happen, and realizing it's not fine. But if something's not fine, you have to realize before it's not fine, so that you can make changes to make sure it's actually fine. And if you think everything is fine when it's not, or when if a child might run out into the streets, you need to realize that it's not fine beforehand, not after. And yeah, it's very complicated, but I do not like George, and I think it really does depend on it depends on the child and how he feels. I can see the future a little bit. I feel like I can have a prediction. I might be wrong or whatever, but yeah, if I do predict things, I would predict that when the child's 8, Sophie might get custody, and George and the child, might not like the father because of his coldness and his heartlessness and his very strict, controlling type of way. I guess under a child, under 8, it's probably a good thing. Over 8, it's not. And yeah, and when it comes to Sophie's other child, I feel like his soul really likes Sophie, and that they will have a really, really good relationship. When he's older, and in the future. So I look forward to those days. But yeah, what will happen in the meantime, I don't know. All I know is that if the child is taken off her and put into foster care rather than having me as a consideration, that's terrible. And so even though I'm not going to be on anyone's side, I'm not on anyone's side, which means that if I'm saying negative things about Sophie, Sophie wants the child now, she wants it in custody, she wants both the children. And yeah, me saying that I don't think she can do that, that's not, I'm not on her side because I'm saying things like this. And social services could tell me off because it sounds like I'm on George's side, and it's just like, nah, I'm not on George's side at all. I'm not on any side. I'm definitely not on the social services side either. I'm on the side of me wanting to just come up with what I think, just my views. That's it. All I want to do is express my views. And I don't want the child to go in foster care, and I need to know how I can. I have to appeal through the courts because the social services aren't going to agree with me because I'm not on the social services side, and I'm not on Sophie's side, and I'm not on anyone's side. I'm only on my own side, and it's kind of a reminder of how life is, or how it feels for me. I feel like I'm in my own category all the time, and I like making these videos because I get to stand on my own category. But yeah, there is a question: is can you sue someone because of something they've said on YouTube? If you don't like someone and you write and you say lots of negative things about them, can you really sue someone because of them saying things? I mean, I don't think you should. I mean, for me, YouTube is just it's an open channel, and if you're making money out of something, so say if I was saying loads of terrible things about people, whilst sort of making a huge profit on something, then you probably can sue. You can say, oh, you've made thousands of pounds over the last few years on, making these allegations. We want to sue you for that money. If I'd feel like if money is involved, then you're in a completely different ballgame. But if money's not involved, and if you're just saying your opinions, freedom of speech should allow you to say what you want. And if someone doesn't like what you're saying, well, it's their job to make you not say it. If George doesn't want me to say bad things about him, then he should have a better relationship with me, or at least make any effort. He's blocked me for the last 3 years, and he's been a pain, basically, like saying things like he doesn't even want. This is something he said years ago, so it's not information that I'm revealing. It's just something that I've known from the beginning, which is that he wants literally no contact with Sophie, different separate doors and stuff like this. And it's just, it's awful how someone could be with someone for 13 years, and then as soon as they realize, oh, they're not very good with kids, I'm just going to like shut them out, and I don't even want to walk through the same door as them. That's kind of how that's what he is. He's a heartless, horrible person. But yeah, I'm not on anyone's side, but I am on the side of making YouTube videos that express my opinions. And I don't think it should be legal to sue someone if they have negative opinions about you and make YouTube videos. Okay, it's definitely different if it's going live onto public TV or something. If I was to go onto Big Brother and say a whole long list of shit about him, and if they were to air it, then he definitely would have rights and stuff to claim over that. But yeah, YouTube is sort of an independent thing, and it's just one person expressing their opinions, and I think it would be completely wrong to sue someone over their opinions and their need to want to express their opinions. But yes, that is my view on it. But of course, George likes to threaten people, and he's trying to make my sister feel bad for saying things to me when actually I'm getting none of my information from her, and pretty much all my information from Linda, who just talks way too much and then end up just saying the same things over and over and over again because she's now mentally scarred by George. But anyway, this is reasons why I hate George. There is good reasons why I hate him, and it would be lovely if the child wasn't with him. But yes, unfortunately, he is a better carer than my sister for a child. But he's not going to be a child forever, so we'll just we'll see what happens. But I'm not going to shut up.